Good morning, Asia, and good evening, America. Welcome to the weekend edition of WION DNA. I'm Eric Njoka. We have a lot lined up for you, including the latest from Gaza, U.S. elections, and Ukraine, plus business, sports, and entertainment. But first, the headlines. As Hamas reviews Israel's counter-proposal for truce, Israel says only a hostage deal will defer its rafah operation. Arab leaders meeting in Saudi Arabia from today, with the war in Gaza and the humanitarian situation on the agenda. Hamas releases undated video of 2 Israeli hostages held in Gaza as anti-government protests rage on in Tel Aviv, calling for efforts to get the hostages back home. Pro-Palestinian protest fire spreads across the U.S. after universities protesters demonstrate outside the venue of the annual White House Correspondents Association dinner, where President Joe Biden will make an address. In Nigeria, efforts are on to keep law and order in check in River State after a massive fire caused by a petrol-laden tanker colliding with a heavy-duty truck. Reports say nearly 100 vehicles have been burned. A magnitude 6.5 quake strikes Indonesia's Java Island. Reports of strong tremors felt in capital Jakarta. No tsunami alert has been raised. Iowa and Nebraska in the U.S. Midwest under storm watches amid massive devastation from a series of tornadoes. Residents sift through rubble with nearly half of the houses in several towns completely destroyed. Two-time Grand Slam champion Rafael Nadal avenges his Barcelona Open loss to world number 11 Alex de Minaur. The former world number 1 downs the Australian 7-6, 6-3 to reach the third round of the Madrid Masters. West Asia is still tense at the moment. Israel has vowed to push ahead with its planned assault on Gaza's Rafah city. Israeli foreign minister has put out a condition to suspend the offensive. During an interview to an Israeli media outlet, Israel Katz said if a deal is secured to release Israeli hostages held by Hamas, then a planned incursion into the southern Gaza city of Rafah could be suspended. Although it's important to note that despite Katz being a member of the Security Cabinet, he is not a member of the Narrow Forum War Cabinet, which is overseeing the Gaza offensive. The comments made by the Israeli foreign minister come after the militant group Hamas said it was reviewing the new Israeli counter-proposal for a ceasefire in Gaza City. Hamas said it would give its reply in due course. According to a senior Hamas official, Israel's offer was in response to a proposal from Hamas 2 weeks ago. The official did not provide any other information on what was in Israel's offer. This development comes as Egypt increased its efforts to secure a deal between Israel and Hamas. A delegation from Egypt was in Israel trying to jumpstart stalled negotiations. Egypt's intelligence office director, Abbas Kamel, led the delegation that arrived in Israel on Friday. Egypt is expected to table a, quote, new vision for a prolonged truce in the war. Talks are also being held in Saudi Arabia ahead of a World Economic Forum summit. Dignitaries from Arab nations gathered in Riyadh to discuss the situation in Gaza. Saudi Arabia's Foreign Minister Prince Faisal bin Farhan Al Saud met with a number of representatives, including Secretary General of the Executive Committee of the Palestine Liberation Organization Hussein al-Sheikh and Egypt's Foreign Minister Sameh Shoukry. In addition to that, America's top diplomat Anthony Blinken will also head to Saudi Arabia before reaching Israel. This will be Blinken's fifth visit to Saudi Arabia since last October. According to the U.S. State Department, Blinken will hold talks on Monday and Tuesday with the regional partners as he makes efforts to achieve a ceasefire in Gaza and prevent a larger regional conflict. While leaders are trying to achieve a breakthrough deal as they push for a ceasefire in Gaza, but amidst the talks, the plight of hostages remain uncertain. The latest, the militant group has released a video of two hostages, American-Israeli Keith Segal and Israeli Omri Miran. The video, Segal and Miran appeared to speak under duress. The American-Israeli hostage, Keith, while assuring his family members that he is fine, he also pleaded to the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu to negotiate a hostage release deal with Hamas.
מקווה ומאמין שאתם כולכם תמשיכו בזה.
כדי שיהיה משא ומתן ועסקה עכשיו.
להתראות ובתקווה שזה יהיה בקרוב.
This is the second hostage video released by Hamas in recent days. On Wednesday, the militant group released a video of Israeli-American hostage Harsh Goldberg-Paulin, who had been kidnapped from the Nova Music Festival last October. With the release of these videos, public pressure continues to mount on the Prime Minister to strike a truce deal to secure the release of the remaining hostages. Yemen's Houthi rebels claimed they shot down another U.S. military's MQ-9 Reaper drone. The Houthis also aired footage of the unmanned aircraft, claiming they had shot down the Predator with a surface-to-air missile. The latest assault is part of a renewed series of attacks this week by the rebels after a relative lull in their pressure campaign over the Israel-Hamas war in the Gaza Strip. The U.S. military said a U.S. Air Force MQ-9 drone had crashed in Yemen. It added that an investigation was underway without elaborating further. The Houthis say the missile was shot down on Thursday over their stronghold in the country's Saada province. The Houthi footage included several close-ups on parts of the drone. It showed the logo of General Atomics that manufactures the drone and serial numbers corresponding with known parts made by the company. Since the Houthis seized the country's north and its capital of Sana'a in 2014, the U.S. military has lost at least 5 drones to the rebels in 2017, 2019, 2023, and this year. Reapers cost around $30 million apiece. They can fly at altitudes up to 50,000 feet and have an endurance of up to 24 hours before needing to land. The Houthis have launched attacks on shipping in the Red Sea and Gulf of Aden, demanding that Israel ends the war in Gaza that has killed over 34,000 Palestinians there. The Houthis have launched more than 50 attacks on shipping, seized one vessel and sunk another since November. And that's according to the U.S. Maritime Administration. Houthi attacks have dropped in recent weeks as the rebels have been targeted by a U.S.-led airstrike campaign in Yemen. Shipping through the Red Sea and Gulf of Aden has declined because of the threat. Let's move to the U.S. now, where hundreds of protesters have been arrested at schools from California to Boston as students set up encampments. While the students are demanding that their schools divest from companies involved in Israel's war against Hamas in Gaza, university authorities say the demonstrations are often unauthorized and called on police to clear them. At Atlanta's Emory University, the police arrested over 24 people at a pro-Palestinian protest. According to the school officials, 28 people were arrested, of which 20 were members of the school community. The arrests at Emory were made after protesters began erecting a tent encampment in an attempt to emulate a symbol of vigilance employed by protesters in Colombia and elsewhere. Police in riot gear also detained about 100 people as they cleared a pro-Palestinian encampment at a Boston University. The action was taken after some protesters resorted to virulent anti-Semitic slurs, including "kill the Jews." Human Rights Watch and the American Civil Liberties Union have condemned the arrest of protesters and urged authorities to respect their free speech rights. Columbia University's embattled president was criticized by the university oversight panel. The panel found fault with her administration to clamp down on a pro-Palestinian protest, saying the decision ran contrary to the norms and traditions of the Ivy League school. President Nemat Shafik has faced an outcry from many students, faculty and outside observers for summoning New York police on campus on April 18th to dismantle an encampment of tents set up by protesters against Israel's war in Gaza. Students want universities to cut their investments in everything tied to Israel and weapons that fuel the war in Gaza. That means funds run by BlackRock, Google, as well as Amazon's cloud service, Lockheed Martin, and even Airbnb. The day after a powerful explosion rocked an army base in Cambodia, buildings where the incident occurred reflect the intensity of the blast. At least 20 soldiers were killed and several others were wounded after an entire truck of munitions exploded. A probe has been ordered to establish the cause of the blast. This is the site of the explosion at the Cambodian military base ammunition warehouse to the west of the capital. The Cambodian military says a powerful blast occurred in a truck which was fully loaded with weaponry. At least 4 buildings have been destroyed. Villagers in the nearby areas of the military base located in Kampong Speu province say that the sound of the powerful blast resonated at around 2:45 p.m. local time on Saturday. Besides 20 soldiers killed, there are reports of dozens of people injured. A child in diapers is among those badly injured. Houses nearby sustained holes in their roofs. An office building as well as nearby barracks were also destroyed. One can see the warehouse smoldering with broken windows and shattered glass. Cambodia's Prime Minister Hun Manet expressed deep shock at the incident and has ordered the country's defense chiefs to urgently arrange funerals for the soldiers killed. The families of those killed will be given a compensation of roughly $20,000 each. Chile is observing national mourning after 3 military police officers were killed in an armed ambush by unidentified assailants. The region where the attack occurred faces long-running tensions between the state and the South American country's Mapuche indigenous people. The officers responded to 3 false emergency calls before they were attacked with heavy caliber weapons and burned alive while they were inside the car. The presidential convoy, armored vehicles and Navy helicopters rushed to the Los Alamos police station after armed assailants ambushed and shot dead 3 officers, later setting their car on fire in Chile. The incident occurred in the Resti province of Arauco. The charred bodies of the 3 law enforcement officers were found in a burnt-out armored patrol vehicle on the road some 500 kilometers south of capital Santiago. The mother of one police officer says that the pain she felt was indescribable.
Y este es un dolor muy fuerte como madre, porque también soy mamá de carabinero. Al prender mi televisión y veo que realmente ocurre esto, lo primero que se me vino en la mente a mi hijo. Lo llamo rápidamente para saber cómo está él y todo, y me dice: mamá, estoy dolorido porque fue un colega de él que también falleció en ese estado.
Chileans are shaken. The shootout transpired on the day of the 97th anniversary of the Carabineros, or Chile's national police force.
En Cañete asesinaron a 3 carabineros y los quemaron. Hoy día es un día súper especial, son 97 años de carabineros y creo que, bueno, todos queríamos festejar y al final no se puede.
Protesters carrying Chilean flags and chanting national anthem marched on the streets. What was supposedly a celebratory day turned into a journey of grief. Chilean President Gabriel Boric ordered immediate action in response to what he described as a cowardly attack. He warned that the perpetrators of the crime will have no impunity.
No importa dónde se escondan, no importan las fronteras que crucen, los vamos a atrapar y enfrentarán a la justicia chilena. La seguridad pública es la prioridad de los chilenos y por lo tanto es la prioridad de mi gobierno.
TikTok is in the crosshairs of authorities in the US. A new law threatens a nationwide ban unless its China-based parent ByteDance divests. It will be the biggest blow yet to the popular video sharing app, which has faced various restrictions around the world. But concerns over the app are not limited to the West. TikTok is already banned in more than a few countries due to worries that the app poses privacy and cybersecurity concerns. It is also restricted from government-issued devices in a number of others, over fears that sensitive information could be exposed when the app is downloaded. TikTok has either faced a ban or specific restrictions in India, UK, Australia, New Zealand, France, and many other countries. The European Union has also recently raised concerns over the app's compliance with digital regulations. But TikTok has long maintained that it does not share data with the Chinese government, and its CEO has taken a defiant stance, vying to fight back. The clash over TikTok epitomizes the broader tech conflict between the US and China. Legal experts suggest that the new legislation strengthens the Biden administration's legal footing. However, concerns regarding potential violations of free speech rights persist. The American Civil Liberties Union has warned against the ban, and TikTok users are expected to legally resist the move. The US sells itself as a global hero that upholds democracy and liberty, but beneath the facade lurks a dark truth. For years, the US has profited from foreign misery. Wars abroad, fueled by billions in military aid, line the pockets of a privileged few. Conflicts in Europe and Asia are just the latest cases. Here's a report.
The US and its allies in Europe paint Ukraine's struggle as a valiant clash against tyranny. But dig a little deeper and the motive becomes clear. One where war abroad translates to prosperity for the American economy. There's a reason the military-industrial complex is such a powerful lobby. Billions in military aid become a windfall for US weapons manufacturers. Think tanks estimate a significant chunk of this aid goes towards American-made weapons and equipment. Cities from Peoria in Illinois to Troy in Alabama see a boom as factories producing these instruments of war churn out fighter jets, missiles and tanks. This factory expansion translates directly to more American jobs. A 2024 Time report estimates US aid to Ukraine created thousands of jobs across 38 American states. But the economic benefit does not end there. These newly employed workers pump their paychecks back into the economy, boosting everything from restaurants to retail stores. The US is not shy about profiting from war on multiple fronts. The $26 billion allocated to Israel for its conflict with Hamas follows a similar trajectory. The human cost in these conflicts is unaccountable, but American defense firms have found a way to monetize misery. This cycle raises a troubling question. Is the US truly in the business of promoting liberty and democracy, or is it fueled by the financial gains of perpetual conflict? Bureau Report, WION World is One.
Time now for sports. From WION number 6, Stefano Tsitsipas getting knocked out of the Madrid Masters to women's WION number 1, Iga Świątek reaching the last 16 in Madrid. Let's take a quick look at the big results from the world of tennis. Top seed Jannik Sinner advanced into the third round of the Madrid Masters after defeating fellow Italian Lorenzo Sonego. The Australian Open champion dished out